Oh man, it's cold. Oh Billy,
Yes.
What have we done now?
Well, we bought a car and a bunch of parts for it.
All in the same 2 days.
Yes.
Here it is. This is my new to me 1995 Ford Mustang GT. So, what are we doing to it today, Billy?
Parts are over here.
So today we bought a whole bunch of parts. Basically had 3 different people that we met up with on Facebook Marketplace. First of all, we got some nice one-piece black headlights with the chrome reflectors. This is to replace the 2-piece ones, which literally fell out while I was driving. Got a good deal on those. And then we've got a whole bunch of other parts that are going to go on it. What's special about this car, and when I say special, I mean that very loosely, is that somebody has already converted it to carburetor, and by converted, they just kind of stuck one on there and ripped all the wiring out. So we have a lot to look at for the wiring. What we're going to do is install a better carburetor.
And a better manifold for it.
And a much better intake manifold. So what it's got on it right now is the
Edelbrock Torker. So it's got an Edelbrock carburetor on it right now, and it's got an Edelbrock Torker single plane intake manifold. Not great. This is dual plane Performer RPM. This is the better one that we're going to put on there.
And then we got a nice new oil filter. We're going to put some fresh oil in it. And then this right here, this is our Demon carburetor. God damn, those are
they're heavy.
a lot heavier than I thought. So it looks like it's a double pumper style Demon.
It's a single pumper vacuum secondary, so it's got one accelerator.
Single pumper.
Yep, single pumper, but it is vacuum secondaries.
Yep.
So the vacuum part over here.
So, and it's got
it does have a choke.
An electric choke.
It looks like it still might be functioning. We'll have to hook it up. And
the one that's in the car is not working. They've gutted
just
this.
Flops open like that.
So this, at the very least, even though I eventually want to go to either back to fuel injection or I want to go to the Holley Sniper setup that looks like a carburetor, but it's actually throttle body. Not sure yet. Still kind of figuring out what I want to do, but this ought to run way better than what's on it. What's on it was pretty terrible to drive, although we did get it running a lot better. So we're going to get this thing up on the lift and start draining coolant. And oil. Alright guys, let's go in and look. We'll start up here at the front. So, looking underneath, it is definitely greasy. Obviously years of grease, but I'm not seeing any rust up front at least. Extremely greasy right here. It's either a rear main seal or it's from this valve cover leaking. I can see where the valve covers have been leaking. They were leaking very bad. This transmission, the guy was saying something about it might have been swapped, but I don't think it was.
No.
And it's very short. T5s are always really short like that. So somebody has added their own H-pipe that is cobbled together pretty well, or pretty terribly. This car has some shorty headers on it.
Wait, hold on.
But
they welded up where the O2 sensors would have been.
Oh yeah, so they welded the O2 sensor here. They also welded right here by putting a big huge bolt in it. Other than that stuff, if you look at the body, luckily everything's been coated in oil for a long time. It doesn't have rust. It's got some Flowmaster mufflers, really short ones. These are probably 40 series. I don't like them, they're way too loud. It does have turn downs, which is extra loud because it echoes under the car. And then moving towards the back, it has been gone into because telltale sign, come around this side, telltale sign, orange, red, orange Loctite, or silicone all over the place. No idea what gear's in it. When I was driving it, it felt like it might be 355s, which if it is, that's what I want. And then looking up in here, you can see the really crappy little fuel pump that they added that clamped directly onto the hose coming out. And I see this is going to be our power for the pump. I definitely want to replace that fuel pump because I don't trust that. The starter wire right up in there. It is sitting basically on the manifold, and that was the best I could do the other night. I actually had to twist it together, so I will probably be running a new starter signal wire to it, just because I don't want it that close and it's not even being held together with anything. That's not a big concern for me right now. First things first, let's get the fluids out of this thing.
That hasn't been changed in a while.
Jesus, that is dark. Man, that puppy's on there tight. It's probably gonna get everywhere, but since when has this car not had oil all over it? Oh, we're definitely gonna cut this one open. See how much of the engine made it into the oil filter. But it is cool to see that they use a nice big filter like this.
This is the Motorcraft FL1-A. What do you think does this to a front end, like the paint?
Jesus, looks like they were driving on a friggin'
Gravel.
road or behind something that was kicking up gravel. I always did like this chrome yellow. This is the same color that my 98 Cobra was. The paint is very bad right here. It looks like probably brake fluid or something was all over this. Oh yeah, it definitely didn't have any lines going up there or any sprayers. So I'm kind of curious where the wiper fluid was just spraying to.
This is like a 10-inch filter. We should probably order a larger filter. Also, it's been like pulled down. It's been hammered down. This sticks up normally. Yeah. Here's the choke, which is just flopping around. It's not doing anything. We're also pretty sure that this carburetor is leaking, so that's another reason why I want to get rid of it.
Okay.
Well,
So before
I like
we do anything,
random ground wire here.
Oh,
This-
no, that's not a ground wire. That's for the temperature sensor.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's temperature sensor. This is for the second fan they put in.
They had to do some weird stuff to get this thing to start and run.
So here's the throttle cable coming out. It's just kind of zip tied to this bracket here. This is
We're gonna make that not like that. That's extremely bad. Yeah, this stuff that's just hanging here.
because there's the second.
This is the other side.
Yeah, so that's the passenger side injector harness. 'Cause the driver's side is still all right here.
Most of it. Kind of want to double check the firing order.
I'm gonna start getting the carb stuff off.
Yeah. So, if you know anything about Chevys and Fords on their firing order and on their cylinder numbering, Chevys, your frontmost cylinder, which on most V8s is on the driver's side, is cylinder 1. So everything on that side is odd, everything on this side is even. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. On Fords, they do it differently. Passenger side, 1 through 4. Driver's side, 5 through 8.
Yeah, that is the forward-most bank
So this,
on a Ford.
and according to this really neat firing order infographic that I found on LMR, the firing order for all of the HO 302s and 351 Windsors is 13726548. So we're gonna double check this firing order first, because this thing is running on it probably 7 cylinders right now. It definitely isn't running on all 8. Alright, so the firing order is definitely correct. I love that that I get to figure out how all this electrical works. That's awesome.
That should be everything.
Okay, let's not drop anything in there. Wow, that is very gasoline-ish.
Yeah, this thing's been leaking. Yeah, like when we were running it, there was like gas pulling up around the runners.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it still might be overpressuring it.
Definitely is. I didn't know that. Huh. Yeah, this is going to be a huge improvement on this car, mostly because everything on this car sucked. And it's not stuck in the block. There we go. Now that's a big concern with an older engine. A lot of times this stuff gets stuck in the block.
These are already like stainless bolts.
Yeah, they went to Ace Hardware. Because you're not going to skip out on the bolts, even though the rest of the car is not built right. Oh yeah, they sealed the crap out of this thing.
Yeah.
There we go, broke the seal. Okay. Oh shit. Alright, you're looking at it from the driver's side.
Today RTV. Oh. Yeah, there's a gasket there.
Oh yeah, they RTV'd over the gasket on the China wall.
That made scraping very easy.
Yeah, yeah, because it all just peeled off. So what you're seeing, this is like the spider hold down thing for the roller lifters. This is a roller motor, so it's got roller lifters instead of flat tappet.
Yeah, so this is after. Yeah, so this is after it's convert. They switch their small blocks to roller cans instead of flat tappet. So you have this stamped piece of metal is the spider. It holds in these dog bone shaped things, which keep the lifters from spinning. We'll need to like maybe pour some oil in here and flush it a little bit because we also still need to drain the front sump.
Oh yeah, that's right. We still. Yeah, so we found out when we were looking that the sump for the oil.
It humps over the middle of the subframe. It goes
over the subframe, so it's got 2 spots that you have to drain. So we're gonna have to drain the front one. That explains why not as much oil came out as I expected.
There's a couple things we need to take off this old manifold and put on the new one. The thermostat housing, this contraption for the heater, this port here for the brake booster, and then there's what's so goofy is there actually was like a temperature sensor right there that they didn't use for some reason. Oh well. We're gonna get rid of all that pipe stuff that they had here because this bar will just fit right there. That should work just fine. There's another port here we could actually have a temperature sensor, so we don't need all of this stuff that they had set up. Alright, so I sprayed this thing down with brake clean it up so we could list it on Marketplace to sell it. And it started, like all this silvery stuff started coming off of it. So someone painted it silver. And then as I was spraying it, I noticed it started getting more and more yellow. So that's silver on top of yellow paint.
Oh my god, what? Wait. They painted the car's intake manifold. They painted this manifold yellow, yeah, and then they painted it silver?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Alright guys, we're getting ready to put the new intake manifold on. I got a gasket set from Felpro from AutoZone. It is part number MS93334. It's going to have some gaskets in here for a fuel injected setup that we're not going to use, but most importantly it's going to have your manifold to head gaskets. Oh, it's got China wall gaskets. If you want to use them, you can either do that or just goop it up with a very thick bead of like a 1/2 inch bead of silicone. Since it has these, I might do like the people that did before me and use them, but I will use a generous amount of RTV. When I put these on, I don't just put the gasket because you got to remember that there is coolant that does flow through this manifold on the front and the rear. So you're going to want to take this, take it out of the package. It's going to be messy, but you're going to want to get some RTV and coat both sides so that you get a nice even seal for any porosity. Speaking of porosity, when we were cleaning up this manifold, I went ahead and hit all of this with a whiz wheel, and you can see there is a lot of pitting that became apparent as soon as I started to hit it with the whiz wheel, and it's mostly around the water jacket ends. But that's another important reason why you need to put silicone on both sides, because that's going to fill in those gaps and keep it from leaking, because coolant flows through here and here on both sides of the manifold. The type of silicone we're using is the Right Stuff 90-minute gasket maker. This is what we typically will use, and we've never had any problem with it. So we're just going to want a thin layer on both sides. Alright, so these have little notches that are pretty neat. They lock in to a little corner that sticks off of the head gasket.
Every time we watch someone do this on YouTube, they use like half a tube per each side.
Right. All right. So I've made these guides. I'm gonna have to remember to take them back out in order to put the last 2 bolts in. But they should guide me down pretty well.
Right, you're on this one.
Okay. Going straight down. Give it a little push down. There we go. Before we clamp those, I'm gonna go ahead and thread these guides out. Okay. I'm getting excited about this one. This is gonna be a really cool first startup. So you can go ahead and run them down evenly in the same pattern that you would for torquing, but then you're not going to want to really impact them or do anything to draw it down. You'll start doing your torque like this, and you said it's passes?
Yeah, so it's going to be 2 passes. First one's 10 foot-pounds.
First pass is 10 foot-pounds. 10 foot-pounds. Over here. Here, this one. And this one. That's your middle foot. And you go for and go across these ones. And here. Here. That's your middle foot. Your middle foot across. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright.
Second pass on aluminum heads would be 18 foot-pounds. On iron heads, it's 22 to 24 foot-pounds.
Alright. And that's torqued. So we're gonna let that dry overnight.
And then in the future,
Oh man, that does look good.
yeah.
I give you carburetor guys credit. This really does looks the part for sure. All right, where are we at, Billy?
Well, we've got a manifold on there. It's gasketed down. We've cleaned up all of the like fittings for all of the this goes to the heater. There's some extra ones that are plugged off. You have the one for the brake booster, thread taped in there so that these 2 go to air. We got a new coolant temperature sensor.
So that's the ECU side, even though this doesn't have an ECU, I'm hoping that works for my gauges. I replaced a fuse that was for our interior lights. I'm hoping that might have fixed our gauges. I haven't checked it. The reason I haven't checked it is because I don't want to prime this. I don't want to turn the ignition and prime the pump because it's not hooked up. We also got some goodies over here that I'm going to try to get in here tonight. So we got our thermostat gasket. I got a new thermostat. This is a 195, which is what it came with stock. It's what they had. We pulled a 180 out of it, but I don't know that it was even working. And then the last 2 pieces of this puzzle, I've got a new fuel pump and a new regulator. This regulator is basically the same thing that's on it right now, except I trust this one more because this one's brand new. Same thing with this pump. The pump that's in it is working, but the one that's in it definitely provides way too much pressure. This is for a carburetor. This carburetor only wants about 5 psi of fuel. I think this is the old clicky clacky.
Yes, we finally have a clicky clack. We need a drill battery now.
Oh, I know.
We got a bunch of them over there.
We can make this work. Yeah. But we have a nice big regular battery there. So we're gonna try to get this stuff hooked up tonight so we can at least get this thing started and see how it runs. It should run on all 8 cylinders. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get thermostat on. We will put our distributor in, make sure everything's tight, put our PCV back on, and then we should be able to fill this thing with coolant. Then we can start it up, see if it runs. Then, because this distributor is not meant for this engine. It's not the right distributor, so it barely has any room to adjust. I don't think I can stick it on the other side. I don't know if this manifold's bigger or what. Let me try the other side. It's hitting the manifold on this side. And that's all we got right there.
The thing looks like cheap junk.
Oh, well, it's because it definitely is. 100% cheap. At least I got the ability to turn it now.
Mm-hmm. All right, sorry, going down.
Now, can you see the piston?
Yeah.
Oh.
Turn a little more.
Let me turn backward and then forward.
Okay, so coming up. Okay, now it's going down.
It's going down?
It's going down,
right.
yeah.
One, 3, 7.
It's definitely there. We'll need to do the fuel pressure. But there's fuel pouring out of it now into the manifold.
Alright. I don't want to foul out all my new plugs.
Or hydrolock it.
Hydrolock it and fuel. Alright guys, so it is late. We do know this thing's gonna start and run. I didn't even look to see if I had tack or any of that stuff, but I still gotta see what fuse I popped. We're gonna call it for tonight, and hopefully tomorrow, I'm gonna go ahead and put the lower pressure pump in the back of the car. Hopefully that'll work. All right guys, it's the next day. I have too much fuel pressure, and I think that this pump is for a fuel injection setup, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it out. I don't know if the intake pump has been disconnected or what the deal is. They've got this as an inline going to the hard lines that go to the front, so I'm gonna take this out and maybe cycle the key and see if I can hear the intake pump going. If I don't hear anything from that, I'm gonna assume this is the only fuel pump. I'm gonna replace this with the old clicky clacky and see about mounting it.
Self-tapper.
Self-tapper. Yeah, that's what they used for the ground on this. You want to take a look at the power that they ran. So this right here, this line.
Yep.
This is your power line. They snaked it behind this strap, through this hole, up here, above the shock tower, above the spring perch, right here, through the body right here, up to right here. There's a rubber grommet that goes into the back floorboard of the car. And then who knows where else it went inside the car.
Wow.
And the best part is I'm not changing that. I'm just gonna hook up the new one because I want it to run. I want to make it run right first. I can figure out that later. Clearly that's not arcing out anywhere, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Try it a few times. Was it showing on pressure? Did it go up?
I don't think it has moved. Oh, there's gas coming out.
I'm gonna turn that down.
We need a return or something.
Yeah, we need a return side. I ordered one today, so
Okay.
yeah. As soon as that pressure hits that point where it hits the carburetor and overloads it, and those things are terrible.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 4 to 7 psi according to that thing. It's clearly too much, which doesn't even make sense because I've seen so many people run these things. I mean, we can clearly watch it. It fucking trickles, and then all of a sudden it starts spraying out of those things.
Yep. Factory pump's still going.
If I didn't want to see how good this carburetor ran, I would just put it back to fuel injection at this point. We've got most of the stuff to do it. I just have to get the upper and lower manifold and redo all that stuff again. But the factory pump is running, and that's the problem, is that we've got the inline clicky-clacky, but in the tank, the 50, 60, whatever PSI pressure is coming on after it's been running for 35 seconds, whatever it is. So I have to disable the in-tank pump in order for this to not get too much pressure. Alright. You gotta bring it up. What is it? What did we find, Billy?
Well, we found these two studs sitting on top of the gas tank.
Just laying there, right? And those are like nice
Studs for something.
kind of like just laying on top of the gas tank.
Yep, right here.
We don't know what for.
So these gas lines are real rusted.
Yeah. So you do have to have fuel disconnect tools, obviously, for this. But then I had to stick this up in here. You can feel it depress the spring, but it's just not enough to get it to pop over all this rust right here. So Billy drove it off. It just popped once he hit it hard enough. Usually they do. It's just a spring tension kind of thing. But he used a very long extension. It's going to take 2 people, and then this is going to spill gas on you. So make sure you put it back into this hole right here. This right here needs a new gasket, because
the grommet that comes with it.
the big grommet for the fuel tank is torn. But luckily Billy has 2 of every animal, apparently, because he is Noah's Ark for Mustangs. So now we just got to get the return line off up here. Then that's it. We should be able to get this tank out of here. I'm gonna try to clean these up, but more than likely I'm just gonna replace them, or replace this thing. I have to that's what I have to do on this. I have to modify that to make it a pickup, because there's an in-tank pump that I have to take out, because we're doing carburetor now. So I'm gonna modify that, and but we'll get this other one off of here. So we had to get a new gas tank, but luckily we figured out how to get all the other stuff out of the old one. So I have swapped over the harness, the level sending unit. I've modified the in-tank pump that we had so that it's just a pickup tube. It doesn't have a fuel pump in it. We're not going to plug it in. We're just going to zip tie this harness so that it's in there for someday when we go back to fuel injection. So this was the original fuel pump. I guess you would call it the hat, or the assembly, whatever. The fuel pump was right here. What I've done is I've put an inline filter in place where the fuel pump is, and then just a short section to bring the pickup to where the other filter was. I've cut it at a V shape so that it can't get easily plugged up by any bigger pieces of dirt. There's nothing here plugged in, so I'm going to make sure I don't plug this connector in, because it might just short. But this right here should just work as a filtered pickup tube, because we have our external pump.
So we're going to also replace the front brakes on this and brake calipers. So I'm going to go ahead and start turkey basting some of this old brake fluid out. And
geez,
that's not the color brake fluid's supposed to be.
No,
not new brake fluid anyway.
It looks like flat Coke. Like, you know how Coke is dark, but then you get flat Coke, it's like extra nasty and dark looking? That's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's a 150,000 mile brake fluid.
At least. Sick. Alright. And we got the gas tank. I just got to put this plastic cover thing back on it, and it's good to go back in.
I'll let the pump run a little bit. Oh, stop.
Is it coming out?
Yeah. probably need to take the carb apart and make sure that this float is like up or something.
Yeah, I think we need to take this carb apart and rebuild it, or at least look at everything. I feel like it was sitting on a guy's shelf for a while, and I just don't understand how I'm getting enough fuel pressure for it to. It's got to have a stuck open seat. So this is a carburetor that Billy had because the Holly Demon that I've got on mine is not, I don't think it's small enough for my car, or it's got something going on inside of it. It's just giving way too much fuel all the time. This thing should bolt right on, and a lot of this should be the same, although it's not exactly the same carburetor. A lot of it's very similar. We're gonna try to get this set up the best we can off the car. We've already set the transfer slots, but we noticed that one side of this, one of these caps on the end here for the metering block is loose. So instead of just tightening it up and going, we're gonna take this apart. We've got most of our rebuild kit left from the other carburetor. We also noticed that the accelerator pump was hard as a rock, so at the very least we're gonna replace that. So we'll go ahead and start by taking off this side's metering block. Alright, accelerator pump. Let's find, so this is the new diaphragm, which is
No, that flopped.
supposed to actually move.
This does not
That
move.
thing definitely doesn't. So I'm gonna put that back on before I take this off. Oh, and I need that spring. Did they give a new spring in there?
Is this the one that came out of it?
Yeah. No? Okay. Just making sure. Anything we can replace, we'll replace.
Oh, we should probably make sure that the power valve is good in that too.
Oh yeah, that's way better.
What?
That's way better. What the hell? That's what it's supposed to do. It was just completely compressing this spring.
Yep.
Jesus. Alright, well this is a good thing we did all this.
Yep.
Pull this, gently pull this tube out. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Lay this down here. So this is your float bowl on one side. So this is your metering block right here. This is your float bowl. So fuel comes into the carburetor from this particular hose right here, and it actually transfers to the other float bowl through this tube that we just pulled out of right here. So when it comes in through here, it fills up this carburetor up until the floats start to rise. So we were actually looking at it upside down. So it's actually like this. So it comes in here, the float starts to rise as gas gets in here, and it pushes right there. That's called the needle and seat, which goes in through this screw. So this is the screw that sets your needle and or sets your float height, but it also has your needle and seat. Once this fills up and it pushes up on that needle and seat, that closes off the fuel flow into the carburetor. So it's very important that you set this float right. On these ones, unlike the carburetor that we've been messing with, these ones don't have a sight glass on the side right here. They've got this, which is just a plug that you take out and you look to see. You want the fuel just barely about to flow out of that plug. Now I can already tell the needle and seat is a little bit sticky, but it's still moving. Yeah, it's only sticking when you go all the way. So that needle and seat's probably not bad. We already used the other one on the other carburetor, so for now I'm gonna call those good. I'll just have to make sure I clean it a little bit, but this float bowl looks good. There's no junk in it. I'm guessing this is probably gonna be good to go back in there. I am gonna blow it out a little bit. So we are definitely gonna have to replace this gasket. Somebody tightened it back up with a kink in it. Everything else in here looks good. I guess this is actually a perfect time for me to set this float height, because I want to make sure that that's not something we really have to do on the car. You can do it just by visualizing it. I can already see there's a piece of metal in there.
Oh yeah, wow.
A little tiny piece of metal, so good. They're all tight.
I think so.
Sweet. There we go. Flip her over. Are those tight at all?
Nope. Oh, here's the weird bit we have to use for these.
Oh, that's cool. They included the old weirdo bit.
ugh, like this was all like bubbled up underneath here.
What?
Look at this gasket.
Good.
Like it was sticking to this thing, I couldn't get it off.
Man.
Oh, it's like melted to this.
Yeah, it's. Well, this is
So these gaskets are just, they're like cardboard.
Yeah.
All right, now I'll go get that off of there.
Neat. Carburetor. Sweet, that was easy. Okay. For now, I'm just gonna prime it. I want you to watch.
I can hear it filling up, but I don't see anything coming out. Yeah, nothing's coming out.
Alright, perfect. Here we go. Hold on to your butts. Not bad. Slowly coming around.
Well, we found a loose plug.
Billy found a loose. And then I set the timing, and now it's running right. I'm gonna get that FLIR camera real quick. Yeah, see, that's what you want to see. All four of them about the same. Same with this. All right, I got some good pictures on here. I'll call that a win. So that's the end of part 2. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully next time we'll have this thing on the road for you guys.